Hey guys, this is your host, Kate Jones. I'm here with Josue DeV. You're on UMFM 101.5, and this is the new podcast called Engage. We're here to talk about the community here in Winnipeg and bring on guests that are doing multiple things in the community, such as initiatives, such as engaging with their community members and bringing creative ideas to the forefront. So we really want to highlight certain stories within the city. We want to highlight individuals, and we want to highlight organizations that are doing the work to make the city the vibrant place that it is. Today, we have a super special guest, and his name is Eric. He is from Friday Nights here in Winnipeg. He is as well an event organizer. He's a creative individual. He's a business owner for a couple of businesses here in Winnipeg. One is called Make Shit, but I think that they've actually restructured since, and we can talk about that more a little bit as we go in. And the other is Friday Nights, which has done a lot for the community. So you can go ahead and introduce yourself for sure, and let the people know kind of a little bit about you.
Thanks, man. I owe you $20 for that intro. That was good. So basically, I run a creative studio in Winnipeg with my friends. I've been kind of spearheading like my own brand Friday Nights for the last 10 years. It'll be 10 years this month. And along the way, just kind of doing fun shit and taking different forms, as they come. So we've showed up in the form of a pop-up shop. We've showed up in the form of a clothing truck. We've, shown up in the form of a retail store with sneaker consignment. And our current form is a creative studio on Donald Street. In the last year, we launched a manufacturing company with a few of our friends and are kind of helping fine-tune some, merch for creatives in the city, which is kind of where our passion lies as far as production goes. Yeah, so that's kind of me.
Dope. Awesome, man. Yeah, I've definitely been to your shop a few times. I've got a bunch of your clothes now, and I was wondering, just as a fan of the brand, how that process started, like from the beginning, when you first started the idea and how you got the ball rolling with that.
Yeah, like it was really just about wanting to create experiences in Winnipeg, do something that I didn't see a lot of people in our city doing. So at the time, there wasn't, a ton of local streetwear brands. I really wanted to be in the mix. That was kind of this way that I saw that I could express myself and connect with people at the same time. So it really just started as like a labor of love and wanting to put out cool product, stuff that I would wear, stuff that my friends would wear. And, I started tossing tees to people in the local rap community. And before you know it, I was like selling at local rap shows. If a hip hop concert happened in Winnipeg between 2012 and 2016, like we were there. And then, we just kind of opened a pop-up shop and then another pop-up shop. It's just kind of like snowballed, right? Like as soon as I was able to, quit my day job and do it full time, it was really about kind of attacking the game at all angles and seeing where we could fit in and seeing what we could create as far as, a real community in the city. And that all started in around like 2016 when I went full time with it and could really just deplete all of my energy, making products and throwing parties and, reaching out to people and building relationships.
So it's been very tied into the whole community aspect from the culmination of it.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like it was never about me or wanting, to do something as a job, or it was never a source of income. Like it was like when I was growing up, I didn't feel like I belonged to a particular community. So it was like, fuck it, let's make one.
Sweet, man. That's awesome.
That's a legendary quote. That's awesome, man.
Thanks, man.
I'm definitely a fan as well. I've come down to the shop a couple of times and seen kind of everything you've had, and even when you guys were at your previous location there. So I think that it's really important for local businesses, people in the community, just to engage with their people and be for the community. I've firsthand seen you do that in many different ways, like you allowing artists to do music videos within your shop, having artist shows, pop-ups, certain things like that. And so what are some of the impacts that you've seen that model make on the community over, the past couple of years or the years that you started it? What's been some of the biggest impacts you've seen on the community?
Shit, that's a tough question because I don't look at a lot of stuff that I do in that particular way, I guess. But before I did Friday Nights, I worked at a smoke shop called Farside on Regent Avenue in Transcona. I was there for 7 years, and I watched the two guys there build their business over the time that I was there. In the neighborhood of Transcona, all their customers are from Transcona. All their customers are drinking at the Royal George Hotel, the Central Hotel, the Pandora. We get the same cast of characters in every single day. after working there long enough, you begin to know what they want to smoke. You begin to know what beer they're grabbing from the vendor next door. If you got your favorite snacks in, to ask if their wife's leg's doing okay or how their mom's surgery went, kind of thing. So the biggest piece of advice I ever took off these guys, and something that I started to apply to my own business, but just, also how I live my life early on, is they always said they built their business on friendliness and cheap cigarettes. And, I had one of those things down pat, right? So getting to know people was always part of the plan when I started Friday nights. And, over the years, that was always just the default, right? Like streetwear streetwear is notoriously exclusive. And we wanted to have an inclusive aspect to our brand and create an atmosphere of inclusion and welcomeness. So when people would reach out to us to shoot videos in the shop, or, ask us to come set up and sell t-shirts at a rap show, or, just want clothes for a video shoot, the answer was always yes, especially at the beginning, because we had no reason to say no. We wanted to be that stalwart in the community that, was dependable. Like, I always wanted people to feel like they could count on us. And that's regardless of whether or not we have, relationships with certain artists. Like, I at least want to know that I put my best foot forward in being like a jump off point. If we can kind of help young artists and creatives, not even young artists and creatives, hell, old artists and creatives, I'm 31 myself. But if we could be a connection point or a jump off point for people to, feel like they could take the next step after, if we could help in any way, like that's always something that I wanted to do. So that's a bit about like how we run things. But as far as seeing the impacts of that, I don't know that I've seen impacts that were the direct result of anything I did, but it's been really fortunate. I've been really fortunate to, I've been able to work with a lot of artists in the city and creatives in the city, and watch, where they've taken things since first meeting them. Or, we used to do like shows in the shop. So I'd see people pop off and like rock a clothing shop full of 30 people like crazy, and it's cool to see what they're doing now also. So I don't know if that answers your question, but.
That's awesome. No, absolutely. I think that's a great answer. And it's, it's just one of those answers. You're a guy for the community, made by the community, man. And it's so great to see firsthand, I can say that I've seen an impact from the outside, just in terms of, even for myself, the creative space it provides, the attitude and energy it puts into the air in terms of the city and things like that. So that's super great to hear.
Thank you, man.
I've would say that I've directly been impacted, and just being able to take part in the events and stuff that have taken place there coming through has been huge. Getting to meet people as an artist myself. I'm 22, and that's been a place that I've been able to connect with some people of generation of musicians before. And it's been a wicked cool space to have. So
thank you, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, our new spot on Donald is a bit of a game changer for us. There's we actually haven't figured out what to call it yet, but we've kind of dissected it into like Friday nights makeshift, soon to be known as Market, and then we have this front kind of event space, which is something that we're hoping to share with the community as restrictions ease up and stuff. Open it up a bit more for people to come and enjoy. But yeah, I'm super glad that you guys have been able to check it out and feel like the last couple spots impacted you guys. That's really cool.
So when did you get the spot in the Exchange?
We were in 2017. We were on McDermott Avenue. That was, I think, June 2017. So we put in just about 3 years there, and then moved into new space on Donald, just a couple blocks away this past January 2020, right before the pandemic hit.
Sweet. Okay. And what were the first events at the McDermott space? Just rap shows and stuff?
Yeah, honestly, man, like we did almost like exclusively hip hop there. There's been the odd like R&B or kind of alternative kind of thing that we did there. Miazwe was the first one. So that was like the opening night. Miazwe and I want to say Malcolm J performed.
Dope.
That was a really cool show, man. Super intimate. You knew at the old spot, if there was a red curtain in the window, we were throwing a jam. The first one, we didn't want people using our washroom, so we actually like got a porta potty and just parked it on the sidewalk out front. Like,
that's awesome.
Dope.
My landlord was wondering what was going on. Like, my landlord is Abi Khan, so Shawarma Khan.
Sick.
And so he's like, his office is right there. His restaurant's right next door to where the store was. Yeah, I remember him like walking out one day and seeing a porta potty in front of his restaurant. He's like, dude, what's going on? Like, I'll move it in front of my store. Like, that's just where they put it.
Oh my goodness.
He was cool with it. But yeah, we had Miazwe and Malcolm J the first night, and CJ the Gray actually.
Dope. Those
Fire.
guys are all awesome.
So it was really cool. And then I think we did Lavish there one night. Halves. Yeah, we did some crazy ones, man. It was a fun time. It was like half the space we have now. So it was a real sardine can vibe, but it was cool.
Sweet. And I know that now you've transitioned into some things, like you've got the hip hop karaoke thing
Yeah.
going on. Like, when did you start doing things beyond straight up concerts?
Well, that was kind of always like what separated us. I felt like anytime I put out a collection of clothing, we threw a jam, and we'd reach out to an artist to see if they wanted to perform, try and break somebody off right from the jump. That was kind of the move: was let's put people in a room, let's create a platform, let's have a good time. And we did a pop-up shop with Malcolm J in 2016. He performed, and we'd gotten broken into shortly after that. And I remember I went on Facebook. I hit up this guy I knew was planning events and asked if he needed a hand, because I was probably like 6 months into doing Friday nights full time. I was broke. You know, I threw all my money into this pop-up shop, the merch for this pop-up shop. Like I reinvested every dollar. Like Friday nights, I don't even think had his own bank account at that time, right? Like it was just like me throwing dollars into it. And yeah, we got like robbed for everything we had basically. And I just like hit the pavement, started like asking people if they needed, you know, somebody to work events, run events. So I had a bit of experience just doing like little shows, and I ended up getting a couple opportunities. I started planning some rooftop parties for a little while, and then I got into planning the Winnipeg Santa Parade, Nuit Blanche, and Table for 1200, which are like some of the premier events in the city. Total fluke. Met the chick who organizes them. She's you know, incredible, inspiring woman. Gave me, you know, one of the biggest opportunities in my life. And that kind of changed the game for me. So started really looking at events in a new light and realizing that was something that set us apart. Events, you know, it's all about bringing people together. It's all about, you know, creating relationships and lasting memories. And
Definitely.
that was like a turning point for me, because I realized that as long as we could kind of foster that, you know, community growth, that our brand didn't need to be the forefront. The community could be the forefront, events could be the forefront, and we could just work on, you know, creating a Winnipeg that we wanted to see, and just let our clothes kind of be the merch, you know? Like, why do you buy merch? You buy merch to support your favorite artists. You buy merch to like rep where you're from and the shit that you care about. And that was kind of it for me. I'm like, let's not look at this so much as just a clothing company, and started looking at different ways we could reach larger groups of people by getting people together in the same place. And kind of hip hop karaoke was birthed off that energy. It was something that I wanted to do for a minute. And, you know, the guys at Gary Street Coffee, Feta and Abby, were really gracious enough to kind of just like encourage it off rip. I remember like, I probably wouldn't even started it, you know, solo, but Feta was just like, yo, let's do it here. And then it kind of popped off from there.
That's awesome. Love hearing the origin stories of such a dope and recognizable thing in the music scene here in this community. I did want to ask about, you know, obviously the pandemic has affected basically everybody in the world hugely for small businesses. Just wanted to touch on how that affected what you guys had going on, if things have been getting better recently with restrictions loosening and all that, you know.
Right. You know, like events got hit like almost no other sector. You know, they're the first thing to get shut down. It'll be the last thing to reopen. So we had to pivot pretty drastically. And it was at a time where we were planning on, you know, leaning into events. So it took us by surprise. And I definitely had to take some time to learn how to adjust to the new world. Like, we haven't had it, you know, anywhere near as hard as, you know, so many Manitobans and people across Canada have been hit with everything that's going on. And, you know, we've been fortunate enough to receive a couple grants and COVID support to kind of keep us afloat during some of the slower time. And now we're just kind of like pedaling out of it, man. As far as like running the business goes, you know, I've had a lot more time to grow as an entrepreneur and learn more about the ins and outs of just running businesses, which has been exciting for me personally, because for a long time I always leaned more on the creative side, and it's nice to have balance in my life. But yeah, so we're just maintaining, you know, it's not a dull time. Like, you know, we're turning 10 this year, and that demands kind of its own, you know, it really like needs its own focus for me to make sure that it's a memorable 10 year. You know, we want to celebrate everything we've accomplished, but also everything we've been fortunate enough to take part in and all the people we've been fortunate enough to meet. So without being able to really throw a jam or celebrate the right way, my biggest, the biggest thing in front of me has just been designing product and reaching people that way. So I'm working on more pieces right now currently than I ever have, like in my career doing this. So in the last probably like 50 pieces on my plate right now that, you know, are either in the early stages of design or just finishing production or somewhere in the middle or out for photos. So the pandemic's really just kind of taught me how to be a better business owner, better multitasker, and stop looking at, you know, coming to the studio as going to work. that's one big thing too. Started the pandemic, I told myself like, it's not going to work. You know, you need to familiarize yourself with the terms. I get to go to the studio today instead of I have to go to work. And that's helped my mindset throughout the pandemic as well.
Love it. Love the silver lining and the positive mindset with that.
Definitely.
That's great, man. For those of you just tuning in, we are engaged with 101.5 UMFM. We're sitting down with Eric from the East of Friday Nights Hip Hop Karaoke, and yeah, let's get back into it.
I want to quickly talk about a couple of pieces, or one piece in particular that you actually just released this year, and then as well as a couple initiatives you did. And that would be the Winnipeg's Hardest sweaters that you released.
Yeah, those are fun.
I think that was such a super cool idea. If people who are listening don't know, it was a sweater that was Winnipeg's Hardest, and you can go ahead and explain it. I just kind of want to know, what was the inspiration behind that? You know, what was the inspiration behind providing, you know, for the community, because you had done so much with that and raised a lot of funds for Winnipeg Harvest.
Yeah, I got the idea for to do some sort of fundraiser for Winnipeg Harvest in early stage COVID days. I was going kind of crazy at my apartment and hadn't seen anybody in a long time. I say a long time, that's all relative. It had been a few weeks though, and everything was kind of uncertain. I didn't know if we'd be able to do anything, you know, jam wise or like anything, right? Probably one of the most uncertain times when we first got locked down. And as a creative, like, I don't know, I can't turn my output off. Like, you know, if I'm mid work day and I have a creative thought, like I need to go with it because I don't know if that's going to get back to me later on. So like output is everything. And a lot of my output comes out in the form of a t-shirt. It comes out in the form of, you know, a piece of clothing or a piece of art, or like, but usually something that we make available via Friday nights, right? And that's something that I had taken for granted, the fact that like the economy hadn't stopped, you know, at the point that up until this point for me, like I could put out t-shirts and people would buy t-shirts. And I hit a wall with COVID thinking to myself, like, I think it was the day that I got laid off from my event job. Like they canceled, you know, Nuit Blanche, they were canceling Table for 1200, and I ended up getting laid off from my salary job doing events. And I felt kind of real helpless. And my thought was like, it can be so much worse than this. I didn't want to sell people something during a time where so many were like not even sure where their next paycheck was coming from. I didn't even know. I don't even think CERB was like rolled out yet. I'm like, how can you sell product? But it's like, if I can't sell product and like keep our web store popping, like where are my designs going? Where are my ideas going? What am I doing? That's honestly been the biggest struggle throughout the pandemic, is like without being able to throw jams and rally community and bring people together. Like I feel like, what do I even do if I'm not, you know, if I'm not doing that? Which is why the idea to create a t-shirt for Winnipeg Harvest kind of came into my mind. And when I was thinking about it, like who needs this the most right now? Like people need to eat, like food security. And the idea to do a t-shirt that said Winnipeg's Hardest came into my mind. And I ran with it. I designed it. I reached out to Harvest and I explained the thought process, because I know, like, you know, a lot of nonprofits and a lot of organizations in the city are, you know, have decision makers who, you know, are a generation or two behind us, right? Depending on where we land. And it's unfortunate, but, you know, some of these organizations aren't the most progressive and focus more on red tape than, you know, what the end goal is, right? And the end goal here is, you know, feeding people. And I knew we had like a strong community that would, really mess with this graphic. Like immediately, as soon as I designed it, it was one of those things where I jumped off the couch. I was like, oh, you know, like, so I knew people were going to mess with it. And especially like more so because, you know, it was for a good cause. So, you know, it was like two really important things that kind of just met. And it's like, oh, yeah, we'll sell 200 of these things. So I hit Harvest up and they weren't down. So they told me no. And then eventually the email chain went cold. And I normally would not have asked permission, actually. Like, you know, we've gotten into trouble before for, you know, for those of you who've been following us. And normally we don't ask permission for stuff like that. But the one time I do, you know, they declined. And I decided, okay, like, let me wait this out. And we made it a sticker, gave the sticker away. People were really into it. And then, I made myself a hoodie and got great feedback on it and said, you know what, like, end of the day, the goal is food security. So, you know, if somebody wants to get mad at me for making these, like, you should really take a look at organizational priorities. And I just put them out and dropped them anyway. And yeah, we sold out in like 30 minutes, with the exception of like one of the smalls, which ended up getting bought in the live as I was packing them up. So that was super cool. We were able to raise like $3,500 for harvest. I think provided over 1,000 meals for people across Manitoba.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, super awesome, super inspiring. I love those kind of stories. And I totally feel what you mean in terms of, when everyone can come together and sort of be on that goal of what the end goal is, that's when we can make the most impact. And so finding ways to do that, it's always a challenge to get people on the same page and stuff like that. So I totally hear you.
The biggest thing that, sorry to cut you
No,
off.
go ahead.
The biggest thing for, a lot of young people or people in, positions with platforms is to push boundaries, right? Like, I don't think that we would have made it this far, as a society, if people didn't go against the grain. And you take a lot of heat, people are going to be mad at you for doing things differently, for ignoring the rules, or for, doing things when people tell you not to. But like, if the purpose is pure and you know exactly what you're doing it for, like, forget about that red tape,
100%. Yeah, 100%, man. That's what makes Winnipeg so great, I think, is those community engagements that I see all over the place. Those little pop-up, those events you do, all the types of things you throw together. I remember even just this summer, our group, Community Cares, you had matched our donations up into $1,000 from the community. And so little things like that have been super inspiring for us as young people trying to, become more engaged in the community and learning ways to become engaged in the community. So that's super inspiring.
That's cool, man. Yeah, no, of course. And you guys are, that's the exact kind of thing that more young people in Winnipeg should be doing, or taking part in initiatives like that. And the biggest key is awareness, right? So there's tons and tons of, creatives in Winnipeg with platforms that can help propel, causes like yours, or any cause for that matter. And yeah, so it's good to see you guys moving forward with those care packages as well.
Normally I would ask, doing something like this, what's next? What's your plan if you have, a year, a 6-month, 5-year plan, whatever. I think a more appropriate question is, are you planning ahead given how unpredictable the past year has been? And if so, what does that look like for you and Friday Nights?
Yeah, I work with a lot of moving targets. So like, right now I do have ideas in mind for, 200 plus person events. I do have ideas in mind for distanced events, stuff like that. Like with the brand, we're always planning ahead. As I mentioned earlier, we've got like 50 pieces in the hopper right now. So we're going to try and keep that momentum going, make sure that we're always ahead of the game there. But yeah, really, like, it's as a creative entrepreneur, my structure kind of just relies on always having something to do. So we might have an idea. I might have an idea today that becomes a reality in 2 years from now, or 6 months from now. And it's just kind of all dependent on, what the climate's like strike while the iron's hot kind of thing, right? So we do have plans. I wouldn't say necessarily in a 5-year plan sort of way, but definitely things that will get executed when it's time. And things that we'd love to bring to fruition. But yeah, as far as like in the immediate future, April 17th is going to be our first Saturday back open. I don't know when this is airing or whatever, but but yeah, we're opening up our studio this month every single Saturday. We're going to continue forward with that until they tell us we can't. And then yeah, just going to be putting out a bunch of merch for our 10 years. That's kind of priority goal number one right now.
Sweet. So yeah, by the time this airs, Friday Nights is back open. It'll definitely be beyond the 17th. So
yeah,
that's fantastic. Everybody go down to Friday Nights and go cop something.
We'll also be launching like the rebrand of our current company, Make Shit, which will soon be known as Market, MARK.IT, which is our kind of like a full service kind of design and print shop for creatives and artists. We're doing everything from one-off t-shirts to, full orders from brands. And we're really excited about that. We're getting fine-tuned in and just finishing up our rebrand. So look out for that as well.
Yeah, you guys got stickers, they got posters, they got all sorts of things. It's such a creative space, and any artist that's looking for those types of things, just hit them up and head down there, please.
I need to get one of those wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube men, to stand outside and draw people over.
That would be real fire.
Wearing the Friday merch too, like oversized Friday Nights merch.
Just wait. Wait. I'm gonna put one of those guys on a t-shirt. Just wait, and then I'll reference this podcast when I drop the shirt.
That's awesome.
Sick, man. Dope. So just before we wrap up here, as the guest of this episode, we're airing this on 101.5 UMFM. So if there's any, song in particular that you'd like for us to try to get in there, preferably a song that is out. I know you got lots of rap homies, but if there's any songs you like that you want to play after this.
Oh man, now you got me on the spot. Okay. Give me the new egg joint. It'll be out when you're listening to this. New egg joint will be out.
Okay.
All right, sweet,
Okay.
sweet.
If it's not out, just edit me out here. But it'll be out on God. It's fire. Yeah.
You got a backup in case it's not out?
Hmm.
What's an era and a genre?
Are we talking local or are we talking anything?
Anything.
Really? Oh man. Okay. You guys play Benny the Butcher on 10 UMFM or
We can.
what? Yeah.
Sweet. All right, I'll pass that on.
Let's do it.
Plan A is the new egg joint, though.
Word.
Thanks a lot for taking the time to come on here and do this, man. This has been dope.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear who else you guys got on tap. This is a good look. So thank you for reaching out.
This has been a conversation with Eric from the East of Friday nights on Engage on 101.5 UMFM. Thanks a lot, man.
Easy.